I don't think this guy's umbilical cord was ever cut from his mother. I don't know how this one is going to go, but we're going to try it anyway. Hey Spuds, how's it going? It's Jamie. Welcome back to your first video on the channel, or welcome back to your first video on the channel. I don't know. Welcome to the video. I'm very glad to have you here. How are we all doing today? Good, I hope. Yay, that's thrown me that I couldn't talk during my intro. Anyway, today's video is brand new. We do love a new topic here, don't we? It is new. It's kind of, you know, I'm going to put this under the category of some form of bad anatomy or like just men being men. Because this is going through posts on an article I found about useless new dads. Specifically, the article is called 19 Women Shared Their Useless Husbands in the Delivery Room Stories, and I'm disgusted by the state of men. So we're looking at some cis-het couples where birthing has just happened and these brand new dads are utterly useless. And I feel like it's such a trope. And it's one of those learned incompetencies, weaponized incompetency that we often see, particularly among cishet men. So yeah, I thought we could just go through this list and have a chat. I am one day hoping to be a dad myself, and so I really hope to learn and take away some lessons of what not to do when new baby arrives. Oh yes. We recently published a post where labour and delivery nurses told stories about the worst husband behaviour they'd ever seen on the job. The comments were filled with women and healthcare workers who decided to share their own stories about nightmare husbands in the delivery room. Here are 19 that'll make your blood boil. Boiling blood today on the channel. Delicious. I'm an OBGYN. Is that an obstetrician gynecologist? I think it is. I think that's what Mama Dr. Jones is. Doctor, and we had a dad who punched our postpartum patient in the face and broke her nose the day after she delivered. Unfortunately, this was not the only time that's happened. This has started off very heavy. What a way to go. No, just in the bin. Get away. I'm glad somebody witnessed it, and I hope something got done about that, because no. Never do that again. Absolutely. When I was in nursing school, my OBGYN, yes, rotation, I got to be in the room during a vaginal delivery. The mum was pushing away, doing her thing, as you do when you're giving birth. You're just there doing your thing. I was standing by the husband in tears because seeing a baby brought into this world is beautiful. The dad was chatting me up and trying to flirt. He wasn't paying a bit of attention to the birth. I felt so bad for that mum. Imagine, even if you're not in a relationship together and you're just there as the co-parent to support other co-parent through the birth, why the hell are you trying to chat somebody up during the birth of your child? What a bizarre, completely inappropriate, but also just unromantic situation. Screaming person pushing a baby out of their body. Oh, hey, fancy going out for a drink sometime? Well, not really. There's stuff going on right now that we should be paying attention to and caring about a little bit more than flirting. Some people are just atrocious. I was born in the 80s. My mum said my grandpa had to yell at my dad to take her to the hospital, and when he did take her, he dropped her off because he couldn't handle watching the delivery. Grow up. Honestly, when I hear stuff like this, I'm just like, I really, really wish we could just magically zap you, make you do the delivery, and then see if you would rather be doing the delivery or supporting somebody through the delivery. My grandma, aunt, and mum's best friend came to stay with my mum. At least she had support. After I was born, my dad came with some of his friends to see me and smoke a celebratory in the hospital room, then left. Wow, what a way to support the person who's just birthed your child and to support your brand new child in the world, and a really great way to start off being a dad. This was very on track for my father. Thank God my husband is amazing and was the best support during my pregnancy, in the hospital for both deliveries, and now as a father to both of our kids. Brilliant. Loving to see that the cycle, not that the husband is related to the dad, but you know, there's not this cycle of just all men are shit in these situations. I have no intentions whatsoever of being like this. And also, I might at times sound a bit salty, and you might disagree with my reasons. I guess it's just kind of like a uncontrollable feeling I have about it as somebody who has to go through like fertility help to have children. I'm like, dude, like, I don't know what journey these people have been on to have their kids, but I could not imagine bringing a new life into this world and not giving a shit about it and not caring about the person who I was sharing that journey with and just being completely disinterested. I may get rather irate at some of these, and not just because of that, but also because some of them deserve to just absolutely make you angry because they're awful. As I was actively in labour, my husband walked through the doorway into the room and said, "I want a divorce." Talk about the crappiest time. I mean, read the room, dude. That is not the time and place. Actively in labour, pushing out a baby, and your husband walks in and is like, yes, now is the perfect time to ask for a divorce. Do you know, I couldn't think of a better time to ask for a divorce than right then and there. Jesus. My daughter's dad was a jerk during labour and afterwards. My dad was very sick with stomach cancer, and my mum had recently been diagnosed with pancreatic cancer. Oh, that sucks. So I'd moved back in with them at the beginning of my pregnancy to help care for them. I was already stressed out about not being able to help my dad while I was in hospital, and my mum started chemo in an attempt to stop the spread of her cancer the day after I gave birth. That sounds like a lot to deal with. Oh my god. I was a total wreck, as you would be, between all of that and the postpartum hormones, and this moron couldn't even stay awake. Anytime I asked him for help, he'd whine and say he was emotionally exhausted and needed a nap and refused to do anything. Emotionally exhausted. I'm not disrespecting other people's feelings, and I'm sure that staying awake and supporting a partner through the birthing process is a tiring thing. But when I am in that mode, like, my first thought is just gonna be like, well, how tiring is it for the person actually giving birth? At least I can pop out the room. At least I can catch 5 minutes of sleep. At least I can do this and do that, and I'm not in immense pain. I'm probably doing something that feels incredibly terrifying and overwhelming. Nah, like, just, you've got to be there to support your partner, unless there is a legitimate excuse. My dad couldn't be there, my mum couldn't be there, both of my siblings lived overseas and couldn't be there, and he was mad at me because our daughter was having latching issues and crying. I divorced him and don't regret it. Congratulations. Sounds like he didn't deserve you in his life and he deserved a divorce. The day my sister went into labour, my dad made her take a cab so that he could go back to bed. I feel like it's quite a big deal when there's another human being coming out of a body and it's completely uncontrollable and people are in a lot of pain. I think that kind of deserves, you know, being a bit tired for and staying awake and going out of your way to help somebody to make sure that they're safe and looked after and where they need to be. Oh my god. But what really takes the cake, oh, it gets worse, on that day was now how we couldn't find her then boyfriend. I kid you not, we were reaching out to our friends, his friends, anybody to spread the word that she'd gone into labour. When we did finally find him, he was only there for a couple of hours before going back to town because I have to go see so-and-so. I went up every day just so she wouldn't feel so alone. Why are they all so useless? I don't understand. Why do people like this have children in the first place? I understand that things can be an accident, but like, dude, buck up and take responsibility and be there. My kid's dad left to go feed his cat and didn't come back until the day it was time to go home, and I had no help. So just off to feed a cat for a day. I mean, I love cats. Cats deserve to be looked after. If cats need feeding, then feed the cat. But there's a baby coming into the world until it was time to just left you alone in the hospital. He was abusive and we had an 8-month-long court trial and I won custody. If this happens to you, I know your emotions are high and everything, but please call a family member or a friend for support. Just know that the baby won't change him and you will be parenting by yourself. If you're abused and have nothing, I promise a homeless shelter is better than this treatment. Oh my god. Some people are just absolutely atrocious human beings. Awful, awful, awful people. A woman in her late teens came to us for a C-section with who we thought was her father. We shouldn't have assumed. He was in his mid-50s and was the baby's father. I can see where the assumption would happen, but I'm not late teens. What are we talking about? I don't know. I don't judge age gap relationships to a certain extent, but I also feel like if somebody's literally turned 18 and then like a 50-year-old has gotten in a relationship with them, that's really uncomfortable. Just don't do that. No. I mean, I'm 30. I will be 30 when this video comes out. Wow. I'm 30 and could not imagine. It feels inappropriate to date anybody who's younger than like mid-20s to me. I don't understand how someone in their mid-50s can be in a relationship with someone in their teens. No. When we delivered their beautiful baby, he stormed off in a huge pissed off tantrum because it was a girl. He may have the maturity levels of somebody in their late teens. That might explain things, but not excuse them. No, he can just get in a bin. Jesus Christ, you're in your mid-50s. Grow up, dude. You've had a beautiful baby. Like, why are you mad? They might turn out to be trans. You never know. My son's father had the nerve to say he had another job to finish before he could come to the delivery room. Then when he finally got there, he sat in the corner while my mum and sister held my legs. Then when my son came out, the doctor asked if he wanted to cut the cord. He said no. And my sister, who he has issues with, said, I'll do it. He tried snatching the scissors out of her hand and sucked his teeth in and said, I'll do it. He then had the nerve to badger me the entire time about what he wanted our son's name to be. So you're only interested in being involved in the big moments of your child coming into the world to spite another person that you don't like. Right. That's appropriate and mature. Honestly, all of these people just sound like you are not mature enough to be raising another human being. What are you doing? I know different people view the world differently, so I am absolutely seeing this through my lens of somebody who A, cannot just easily have a child and it's going to be timely and costly and emotional, and B, really wants to have kids and actively wants to be a present and as good a dad as I can possibly be. So that's absolutely the angle I'm coming at with looking at these posts, and I'm just like, why is it so just happening for people who don't give a shit? Like, what are you doing? Either grow up or like just don't get yourself in a situation where you're having a baby and you're bringing a new life into the world that you just don't care about. Ugh. My mum's labour for me was taking a long time. The longest labour I heard of from someone I know was like 3 or 4 days. That's intense. That's a long time, man. My dad was an avid bowler and it was Champion League night. So while my mum was in labour, he ducked out to bowl his game. He claims I was his good luck charm and he bowled his best game at that time. He did make it in time for my delivery, but hearing it told by my mum versus my dad, it's clear she was definitely frustrated with him. That just feels like really messed up priorities, and it's like something that might feel super important in the moment, the birth of your child. That event is going to happen very, very few times in your life, potentially only once, and definitely only once per child. They're only born one time. It is you missed it and you missed it. There's no going back. A bowling game. How often does he do bowling games? Probably fairly regularly. I'd absolutely be skipping anything to go make sure that I was absolutely 100% going to be present for the birth of my child. We're only about halfway through. Oh my god. These are so much worse than I thought they were going to be. I don't know if my blood is boiling. It's definitely simmering in there. It's just blah, blah, blah. Also, my head feels mushy. I'm like, how are these people behaving in these ways? When I was 33 weeks pregnant, I went into labour. That's quite early, isn't it? I hemorrhaged and lost 2.5 litres of blood while my baby was born premature and with 2 bleeds on the brain. Holy shit, what a stressful, difficult scenario. I hope everybody is okay. They weren't sure either of us would live. Oh my god. My baby was taken to the NICU while I was okay, but needed a wheelchair to get around until I recovered fully. I had tears and a lot of pain. The father of my baby, who had just left me for another woman, men are trash, arrived, and he was fine during the birth, supportive even. Afterwards though, as I sat in the bathroom covered in blood and washing myself, he played loud metal music that he and his mistress liked to listen to. Then he left the next day and was confused why I was upset about that, leaving me to a month-long hospital stay alone, which included my boy being at risk of sepsis and having seizures. He visited a couple times but once left early because the mistress was waiting for him in town. I'm now engaged to an amazing man who can't believe people like him exist. I can't believe people like him exist. Just, I know that like they're not in a relationship together, but he needed to at least be there for the person who had just given birth to his child and also his child. This sounds like an incredibly traumatic situation for both mother and baby. Be there for them. Like, it doesn't matter if you've moved on in terms of your romantic life, which sounds shitty anyway because you just abandoned somebody who is pregnant. You have moved on, right? Does not excuse you from being absent, from taking responsibility for what you need to be responsible for and being there for your child and being there for the person who just gave birth to your child in a very, very difficult way. My son's father made me start walking the day after my emergency C-section so we could leave sooner because he didn't like hospitals. That relationship was toxic AF. I was 23. I stayed 11 years too long with that malignant narcissist. Honestly, narcissists, man. The uncomfortable bit, sorry, I just had a very long pause because I was like, there's not even any bit of this that is remotely uplifting or funny. I'm really hoping we're ending on a positive one because I've not pre-planned that enough to have one at hand. Made you start walking the day after your emergency C-section. Give him an emergency C-section and make him walk. Immediately. My husband once told me that I took the easy way out by having a C-section. I like how there's so many guys that are really arrogant in that,
oh yeah, I can handle the pain. Natural birth, that's what you must do. No painkillers, gas and air. Oh, C-section? Ugh, easy way out.
like, excuse me? Excuse me? That is a major operation. And either way, a baby is coming out of you. So yeah, again, this is another guy that needs to have a C-section. They'd induced me and I hadn't dilated past 1 centimeter in 11 hours. Isn't that also really uncomfortable to be in labor but just not be progressing? I was induced because my blood pressure was high and preeclamptic. The recovery for my first was awful and painful. I was expected to watch my 2 stepchildren, who were 3 and 4 at the time, along with my newborn just 2 weeks after having my baby. Do I even have anything else to say at this point? No, not really. Very disheartening. My son's father went home both nights. We, the baby and I, were in the hospital. Lucky for me, our baby was a breeze in the hospital and the nursing staff was amazing. I don't know how hospitals work, and I'm not saying that he in any way did the right thing, and I don't know if it's different when you have a baby, if they let like both parents stay in the hospital, but isn't it normally when you're in the hospital overnight, you're not allowed to stay in the room? There's a thing about that. But I could be very wrong when it comes to this situation. And absolutely, if there was the option and he was able to stay overnight in the hospital, why the hell would you leave? Unless there's other responsibilities like other children that you need to go pick up, or pets that nobody else can take care of that need taking care of, otherwise they're going to get hurt, then you should be staying. And even if you have to pop back home for a bit to do something else, you should be going back and staying for as much time as you possibly can. Boy, oh boy, do I have stories. Oh no, someone has multiple. I used to deliver food to the rooms and I loved the dads who would meet you at the door with the patient's information and take the trays. They made my job easy and were very attentive. Okay, at least this isn't a person who has multiple stories from multiple of their own births. Then there were the dads who I wondered, why are you even here? They would sit there staring at their phone, the TV, and me while not moving a muscle to clear a place to put the trays. One mum stretched to reach her purse while holding the baby to pay for this man's tray while he sat there staring at us, not moving an inch. It doesn't sound like the worst, but it's just men who are so incredibly like entitled and like,
I'm not doing anything. I don't need to do anything. Everyone does everything for me. I'm just going to sit here.
Or men who are just so disinterested in everything that's going on, like literally not giving a shit to even realize what they could be doing to the situation to make it just a little bit easier. Just a bit. I mean, imagine seeing the mother of your newborn child holding this newborn child and then having to stretch just after giving birth when you could very easily have helped. He went to an interview that I was very excited for him to have gotten, but he was gone for 5 hours and missed basically everything. He was also high when he got back. There's a gif of the Grinch going, the audacity, and that is very accurate. Did he even have an interview? That feels like an excuse. Oh yes, I have to go out because I have this very important job interview that I cannot miss. It happened to take 5 hours and I accidentally am now high. Oopsie daisy. My friend who is a labour and delivery nurse told me she had one husband who took a Zoom call while his wife was in labour. How important can a Zoom call be to need to take it whilst your wife was in labour? Like, excuse me, I cannot take this call right now. Person in labour over here, much pain, needs my support, goodbye. My kid's dad was flirting with the nurse and they talked over me while I was in labour. What is it with these dudes flirting with hospital staff whilst their partner is having their baby? Do people not realise how awful a thing that is to do and how bad it looks and how bad it comes across and how badly people will think of them? Or do they just not care? I don't know which one it is, or kind of a combination. Being completely oblivious to the shittery of their behaviour and also just not really caring if it's shit either. Like... And finally, okay, we're on the last one. The day before my son was born, I was hospitalised at 7 a.m. due to complications. My husband didn't show up to the hospital until the next day around 5 p.m. Wait, so it took him like 35 hours to show up with his mum. Okay, he brought his mother. He told the doctor I was not allowed to take any pain meds because he didn't want his son being born drugged up. Oh, just get rid of him. I mean, that's the answer for all of them. but I particularly get, my blood is boiling at the ones where it's these guys being abusive or like coercive or like telling someone, you have to walk, you will walk now, and you will not have pain medications, you took the easy way out having a C-section. One, you have no right to tell somebody not to have pain medication. You are not a doctor, you do not have the right to overrule what the doctor's recommendation would be, and you also just sound really stupid by thinking that it would affect your child. Like, no. It took you over a day. It took you over 30-ish hours to even show up for the birth. How much do you really care? The doctor said I needed to have a C-section, to which he responded, well, if you need to only save one, save my son. Disgusting. That doesn't even seem like that was a conversation. They really saved the worst for last. Or they've kind of sandwiched two really, really bad ones, and then the ones in the middle are really, really bad. These are really, really, really bad, and the ones in the middle are really, really bad. The doctor said no food was allowed in my room since I was having a C-section, and it would just be cruel to eat in front of me. He ate, didn't he? His mum brought him a burrito later on and said her baby couldn't go without eating just because I couldn't eat. Leave the room. He can go get his own burrito for 5 minutes, eat it, and then come back. Like, nobody's saying he can't eat, but if the doctor has said it would be a bit shitty of you to sit there and eat in front of a patient who cannot eat right now and probably really wants to. As I was being rolled out of my room to the OR, his mum asked the nurse to make her baby a priority because he couldn't handle seeing blood. I don't think this guy's umbilical cord was ever cut from his mother. Jesus. A couple of hours after my son was born, his mum brought a bunch of her friends to the hospital to see the baby. I had to breastfeed my son in front of a bunch of strangers until I snapped and kicked everyone out. Good for you. I'm sorry that this happened. That caused my then husband to get upset and leave with his mum. He just sounds like a child. No, I can't be doing with guys who were just grown-up babies. And he didn't come back to the hospital until I was discharged 4 days later. I'm so glad we are no longer married. I was invested in that. I'm so glad you're no longer married. Jesus. Imagine missing the first 4 days of your child's life. Just not being present. Why? Because your partner wanted a bit of privacy, being a new parent and wanting to feed and learn about being a parent and looking after a newborn baby. Like, just no, everything about this one was atrocious. All of these men deserve to be in the bin. Why are they having kids in the first place? I need a palate cleanser. I need like stories of really amazing new dads just being great in the hospital, like the person who was talking about their dad was crap but their husband is fantastic, and then the person who works at a hospital being like, yeah, some dads like meet me at the door and they're super duper attentive and they're really there. Like, that's what I want to know more about. Well, now I have 19 examples of exactly what not to do when your partner has your baby, well, your baby and their baby. A baby that is your baby, you and your partner's baby. A baby is born. People need support when they have just birthed a human being. Like, push a watermelon out of your butthole and then you can have an opinion on what an easy way out is or whether painkillers are necessary. Jesus. Okay, so the men in the bin, don't do these things. Yay. Well, that was an interesting different topic for today. What did you think? If you liked it, if you liked the video, think about giving a thumbs up and subscribing if you want to see more, but there's no pressure. And yeah, as always, thank you so much for watching. I'll see you next time. Much love. Bye.